Have you ever stopped, truly stopped, and asked yourself, if I'm not being myself, then who is living this life? It's a terrifying question, one that creeps in quietly at night, in moments of silence, when the distractions fade, and all that's left is you. Or at least, the person you think is you. For most of us, life has become a well-rehearsed performance. We wear smiles we don't mean, we chase dreams that were never ours, we say what's expected, feel what's appropriate, and become experts at pretending that everything's okay. But deep down, something doesn't fit. There's a subtle sense of dislocation, like being slightly out of sync with your own existence. You go through the motions, fulfill the roles, the good child, the high achiever, the loyal partner, the responsible adult. But underneath the surface, there's a nagging sensation that none of it truly belongs to you. That your decisions, your beliefs, even your desires might not be yours at all, but rather echoes of your upbringing, society's expectations, and other people's fears projected onto you. Carl Jung once warned that the greatest tragedy is to live a life that is not your own. And yet, this is exactly what so many of us do, not out of malice or laziness, but out of conditioning, slow, quiet, relentless conditioning. From the moment we are born, we're given names, labels, and identities. We are shaped, rewarded, punished, approved, rejected, until the real self begins to disappear beneath a carefully constructed mask. This is not merely a psychological dilemma, it is a spiritual crisis, a silent epidemic of disconnection, where we become strangers in our own skin. But what if this wasn't the end of the story? What if your real life hasn't even begun yet? Because Jung believed something radical, that life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. And today, we begin that search. Imagine walking through life wearing a mask so convincingly crafted that even you forget it's not your real face. You wake up each morning, put on your clothes, and along with them, you wear your persona. The identity you've created to survive, to be accepted, to belong. You go to work and play the competent professional. At home, you become the devoted partner or obedient child. With friends, you shift again, becoming someone likable, agreeable, funny, easygoing, whatever the environment demands. And in all this constant morphing, you slowly begin to vanish. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to function in society. And it serves a purpose. We need it to navigate the complex web of human relationships. But here's the danger. The persona is a mask, Jung wrote, but we forget it's a mask. What begins as a tool becomes a trap. You start to believe you are the image you project, and slowly, the true self, the one hidden beneath the mask, fades into obscurity. Modern life only deepens this illusion. We live in a culture obsessed with appearances, where visibility is mistaken for value and performance for purpose. Social media has turned identity into a product. We curate ourselves into digital perfection, chasing likes, followers, and validation. Success is measured by status, worth is measured by relevance, and all the while, the authentic self suffocates behind the expectations of others. We're told from a young age to be realistic, to fit in, to be strong, be polite, don't be too much, don't be too soft. These messages pile up like bricks, and eventually, they build a wall between who we are and who we were told to be. So we hide. We hide our anger behind smiles. We bury our grief under productivity. We silence our curiosity with conformity. We dim our passions to avoid rejection. The deeper we go, the more invisible we become, to others and worst of all, to ourselves. But make no mistake, this is not authenticity. It is performance, and it's exhausting. Have you ever laughed in a room full of people, only to feel strangely hollow the moment you're alone? Have you ever been praised for something that didn't feel like you at all? These are the cracks in the mask, the subtle signals that something essential is missing. Jung understood that the persona, while socially necessary, becomes dangerous when we over-identify with it. When we mistake it for our true self, we live not as individuals, but as characters in someone else's play. And this has a cost. It costs us our sense of inner truth. It costs us intimacy, because no one can truly love you if they never meet the real you. It costs us meaning because every accomplishment feels strangely detached, like it's happening to someone else. And over time, it costs us peace because the soul knows when it's being impersonated. The worst part? We believe this is normal. We've normalized self-abandonment in the name of fitting in. We've accepted the idea that being accepted by others is more important than being honest with ourselves. But what if this was never about becoming someone else? What if the real woke isn't to impress, but to remember, not to construct a new self, but to reclaim the self that was buried beneath years of performance, politeness, and pretense? Because the truth is, authenticity isn't something you achieve, it's something you recover. And that recovery begins when you dare to take off the mask, when you allow yourself to feel what you've suppressed, when you notice where you're performing and ask why, when you stop chasing a version of yourself that was built for approval and start reconnecting with the one built for truth. This process isn't easy. It's terrifying, because removing the persona means risking rejection, judgment, and conflict. But Jung's work reminds us that this is the only way to wholeness. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be real. And real life, your life, only begins when you stop living for the gaze of others and start listening to the voice within. The question now is, can you hear it? Have you ever found yourself triggered by a comment, a tone of voice, or a look, and felt a surge of anger or shame that seemed wildly disproportionate to the moment? Have you ever disliked someone instantly without fully understanding why? Or felt a deep aversion to a particular type of person, behavior, or belief, even though you couldn't quite explain it? That reaction, that emotional heat is not random. It is not about the other person. It's about you. More specifically, it's about the part of you that you've refused to see. Carl Jung called this part the shadow, and he believed that unless we confront it, we will forever be ruled by forces we cannot name. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So, what is the shadow? The shadow is the dark twin of your persona. If the persona is the mask you show the world, the shadow is everything you hide from it. It is made up of your repressed fears, forbidden desires, shameful memories, and vulnerable emotions, but also your neglected gifts, forgotten passions, and unexplored strengths. It is not inherently evil. It is simply the unknown self. From childhood, we are taught, often unconsciously, what parts of us are acceptable and what parts are unwelcome. Cry too much? You're weak. Speak too boldly? You're arrogant. Show fear? You're overreacting. And so little by little, we cut away pieces of ourselves to fit the mold. But what is denied does not disappear. It retreats. The shadow becomes a hidden force, living in the basement of the psyche. And while we might think we've left it behind, it continues to act out through projection. Projection is the psychological phenomenon where we attribute our own repressed traits to others. That's why we despise in others what we secretly struggle with in ourselves. The controlling boss who makes your skin crawl may reflect your own disowned desire for control. The overly emotional friend you mock might embody the vulnerability you were shamed for. The arrogance you hate in others could mirror the confidence you've buried for fear of being rejected. In this way, the shadow doesn't just haunt us, it teaches us. It shows up in the people we can't stand, in the things that scare us, in the thoughts we quickly push away. It's in our addictions, our rage, our apathy, our envy. It's the reason we sabotage relationships, stay in jobs that numb us, lash out at the people we love, or stay silent when we should speak. The shadow is not the enemy, but ignoring it makes it one. And society doesn't help. We are trained to perform, to be agreeable, to chase external success while denying inner chaos. Therapy is stigmatized. Vulnerability is masked with sarcasm. Spirituality is diluted into comfort rather than confrontation. No wonder most people are terrified to look within. But those who do, who are brave enough to descend into the underworld of their own psyche, discover something life-changing. The gold is in the dark. What you've repressed out of shame often holds your greatest power. That rage, it may be the fuel for boundaries. That fear, it might be the compass toward truth. That insecurity, it could hold the seed of empathy. Integration, not suppression, is the key. Jung believed that true psychological growth comes from accepting and integrating the shadow. This doesn't mean acting on every impulse, nor justifying toxic behavior. It means shining a light on the unconscious, understanding where it came from, and allowing those energies to find healthier expression. You stop being the puppet of your past and start becoming a conscious creator of your present. This process is not about fixing yourself, it's about facing yourself. To meet the shadow is to walk into a room where all the parts of you that were told they weren't welcome are waiting. They don't want to destroy you. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be understood. They want to come home. And yes, it's uncomfortable. You will feel resistance. Your ego will fight. But behind that resistance is freedom, the kind that doesn't come from control, but from wholeness. The alternative? Living a half-life, repeating the same patterns, blaming others, staying stuck in roles you've outgrown, feeling an emptiness that no success or approval can fill. Because as long as you avoid your shadow, you will never fully know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, you can't trust yourself. So here is the question you must ask. What part of me have I been avoiding? The answer to that question may not be easy, but it may just be the beginning of your real life. True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to be who you truly are, without masks, without shame, and without fear. This kind of freedom isn't found in external success, nor in rebellion against the world. It's found in an internal revolution, a transformation Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. Individuation is not self-improvement. It's not about becoming better or more acceptable in society's eyes. It's about becoming yourself, not the self you were told to be, not the self shaped by wounds or expectations, but the self that has always existed beneath the surface, waiting to be remembered. So what does this journey look like? At the heart of individuation lies integration, bringing into harmony the persona, the mask, the shadow, the hidden self, and the self, the totality of who you are. Most people lose stuck in the first two. They perform their persona during the day and wrestle with their shadow in the dark. But few ever glimpse the self, the deeper, transcendent identity that unites all parts of the psyche. Jung believed the self is not created, it is uncovered. It already exists within you, like a seed buried in the unconscious. The more you become aware of your persona and your shadow, the closer you move toward this central core. And when you reach it, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel whole. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means nothing is left out. It means owning both your light and your darkness, your strength and your softness, your rage and your compassion. It means letting go of the illusion that you must choose one identity, and instead embracing your full human complexity. But there's another layer to this journey, one that adds depth and mystery: the archetypes. Jung believed that beyond your personal unconscious lies the collective unconscious, a shared psychic blueprint inherited from all of humanity. Within this vast inner architecture live the archetypes, timeless symbols and patterns that influence your behavior, relationships, dreams, and desires. Among the most powerful of these are the hero, the anima, and the animus. The hero archetype is the inner force that calls you toward growth. It's the part of you that longs to break free from stagnation, to rise above limitation, to answer a deeper calling. But the hero never walks alone. It must always confront the shadow. Just as every mythic hero must battle a dragon or enter the underworld, your psychological hero must face the uncomfortable truths hiding within you. And then there is the anima and animus, the inner feminine within men and the inner masculine within women. These are not about gender. They are about balance. The anima represents your capacity for emotion, intuition, creativity, and receptivity. It's the energy of depth, flow, and connection with the unconscious. The animus, on the other hand, brings logic, structure, discipline, and assertiveness. It's the energy of form, clarity, and will. When these energies are denied or repressed, internal conflict arises. A man disconnected from his anima may fear vulnerability, seeing emotions as weakness. A woman rejecting her animus may struggle to assert herself, afraid of being too much. But when embraced, these inner figures become allies in your journey toward wholeness. They allow you to draw from the full spectrum of human capacity, not just what society deems acceptable for your gender or culture. So how do these archetypes support individuation? They serve as inner guides. They appear in your dreams, your fantasies, your triggers, and your longings. By paying attention to them, noticing when they arise, what they reveal, and what they ask of you, you begin to decode the language of your deeper self. Think of individuation as an unfolding, not a straight path, but a spiral. Each cycle brings you closer to the center. Sometimes you regress, sometimes you leap forward, but each confrontation, each insight, each act of honesty brings another fragment of your soul back into the light. This is not an easy journey. It requires courage, solitude, and brutal self-reflection. It demands that you stop blaming the world and start listening to your inner world. It asks that you stop chasing approval and start reclaiming the parts of yourself you were taught to hide. But here's what makes it all worth it. When you live in alignment with your true self, your life no longer feels like a performance. Your relationships deepen, your creativity awakens, your fears lose their grip. And even in moments of pain or confusion, you feel anchored because you know who you are. Freedom, in the Jungian sense, is not found by escaping the self. It's found by coming home to it. So ask yourself, am I living as a fragment? Or am I ready to become whole? Because the path of individuation doesn't lead to who you should be. It leads to who you've always been. Who are you, really? Most people would answer with a name, a job title, a nationality, or a set of memories. I am Sarah. I'm a lawyer. I'm American. I'm the eldest daughter. I'm someone who's been hurt, someone who's survived. But Carl Jung, and many great minds, both East and West, would look at that list and gently shake their heads. Because while all of those things may describe you, none of them define you. Jung believed that what we typically call the self is merely the tip of the iceberg, a surface-level persona constructed by memory, social conditioning, and survival mechanisms. We cling to this identity because it gives us structure, a sense of coherence, but it's also a prison. Why? Because the ego, the I we think we are, is obsessed with control. It filters reality, judges everything, and fears anything unfamiliar. It believes in permanence, in solid boundaries, in fixed narratives, and it will do almost anything to protect the story it has built. But here's the truth. You are not your story. You are not your trauma. You are not your job. You are not your appearance, your successes, or your failures. You are the awareness behind it all. Jung called this deeper identity the self, not to be confused with the ego self, but the totality of who you are, conscious and unconscious, past and present, human and archetypal. The self is not a thing, it's a process, a living, evolving mystery that cannot be captured in a resume or personality test. And Jung wasn't alone in this view. The ancient Taoists believed that the true self is like water, fluid, formless, ever adapting. The Hindus called it Atman, the divine essence that transcends individual experience. In Buddhism, the concept of anatta, non-self, teaches that clinging to identity is the root of suffering. Even Western philosophers like Heraclitus said, you cannot step into the same river twice, because both you and the river are always changing. So why do we suffer? Because we confuse the mask with the face. We confuse the story with the author. We think we are our ego, our preferences, beliefs, habits, and roles. The ego is only a temporary operating system. Useful, yes. Necessary, even. But not ultimate. It's like mistaking the character in a play for the actor playing it. This illusion of identity leads to endless anxiety. We fear change because it threatens the ego's script. We fear failure because it bruises the image we present. We fear silence because it reveals the shaky foundation beneath our thoughts. But what if all of this was built on a misunderstanding? What if your real self were not something to build, but something to uncover? What if, instead of clinging to your past, you could become the author of a new narrative? Because here's the beautiful paradox. You are not fixed. You are not finished. You are not a noun. You are a verb. You are becoming. And once you realize this, you begin to loosen your grip on identity. You stop needing to prove anything. You stop obsessing over how you're perceived. You stop being trapped by who you think you're supposed to be. This is what Jung meant when he said the self is greater than the ego. The self can hold contradictions. The self doesn't fear the shadow or deny the persona. It integrates them, learns from them, and transcends them. And this is where real power begins. When you are no longer enslaved by the need to protect your identity, you become radically free. Free to evolve, free to love without masks, free to fail and start again, free to rewrite your role in the play. So ask yourself, what part of your identity have you been clinging to out of fear? What would happen if you let it go? Who might you become if you stopped trying to be someone and started simply being? Because you are not your past. You are not your conditioning. You are not the version of yourself that others expect you to be. You are the one who can rewrite the script. And once you see through the illusion of identity, what remains is not emptiness, but infinite possibility. You are not lost. You've simply forgotten the way back to yourself. We spend so much of life searching for meaning, for love, for success, for peace. We chase achievements, approval, security, all in hopes that something out there will finally make us feel whole. But the truth is, you've never truly been missing. You've only been distracted. The real you, the quiet, powerful, infinitely complex self, has been whispering beneath the noise all along. In the ache you feel when you're alone. In the unease that creeps in after the applause fades. In the dreams that stir you awake at night. In the small voice that says, "This isn't really me." That voice is not your enemy. It is your compass. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious is not just a storage room of forgotten memories or suppressed fears. It is a living, breathing part of you that holds your deepest truth. And the journey of individuation, the journey of becoming whole, begins the moment you stop ignoring that truth. It begins when you dare to listen. To listen not to the voices of society or the scripts handed down by your past, but to the subtle language of your soul. Your dreams, your intuitions, your emotional responses, your unexplainable longings. Each of these is a symbol, a message, a signpost pointing you inward. You are not here to impress. You are here to remember the parts of yourself you hid away to be accepted, to reclaim the feelings you silenced in order to be loved, to recover the passions you abandoned because they didn't seem practical. This is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of return. Return to the wholeness that was always yours. This is not the kind of journey that begins with certainty. It begins with curiosity, by asking better questions, creating space in your life for silence, reflection, and honesty, by paying attention to what stirs you, what enrages you, and what makes you feel most alive. Start with your dreams. They are the messages of the self, speaking in the code of symbols. Look at your projections. Those you resent or admire may be reflecting parts of yourself you're still learning to accept. Watch your emotions, not to suppress them, but to learn from them. What is your anxiety trying to protect? What is your anger fighting for? What is your sadness mourning? Every feeling is a portal. Every reaction a revelation. You are not broken. You are buried. And your task now is not to become someone new. It is to excavate the truth of who you already are. Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." And if you're still here, still waiting, then some part of you is already waking up. You are beginning to realize that your life is not meant to be lived as a performance, that your value does not lie in your productivity, your popularity, or your perfection. That the real work, the sacred work, is to remember yourself into being. So here is the invitation. Begin the journey. Turn inward. Listen to your inner world with the same urgency you give to the external one. Seek symbols. Write down your dreams. Speak your truth even when your voice trembles. Question the parts of yourself that feel false. Honor the ones that feel alive. And when fear rises, and it will, remember this: you do not have to be fearless, you only have to be willing. Willing to be seen, willing to change, willing to become. Because life does not truly begin when everything is figured out. It begins the moment you stop pretending. It begins when you step beyond the mask, when you welcome the shadow, when you stop chasing perfection and start embracing wholeness. This isn't just self-discovery. This is soul recovery. You were never meant to be a copy of someone else's idea of success. You were meant to be a full, flawed, radiant expression of your deepest self. And that self is waiting. So the next time you feel lost, pause, breathe, listen. You are not lost. You are being called home. And remember, life begins the moment you stop pretending. If this message stirred something deep within you, don't let it fade. Make sure to like this video if it resonated with your journey, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next awakening. We dive deep here, not into surface-level advice, but into the soul of what it means to truly live. Leave a comment below and share. What part of this message spoke to you the most? Was it the shadow? The illusion of identity? The call to stop pretending? Your insight might just be the spark someone else needs to wake up. This is more than a video. It's a movement back to the self. And you're part of it now.